Hello, one and all, and welcome back, yes, back to the Great Unknown Audio Show with me, your illustrious host and most appropriate face for radio, Maxim Jennings. And joined with me, as always, my long-term friend and travel companion, Mr. Nikolai Brown. Nick, how are we doing?
Saudi crap. How are you? I'm good.
Saudi crap, indeed. And that's good to hear, Nick, because really in the last
the Tories have had Aldershot since 1918, and now they've lost it to Labour.
Yes, well, happy 4th of July celebrations, everyone. We are in Chiang Mai, Thailand, on the following day of what has been a very historic election, what seems to be the demise of the Conservative Party and 14 years of austerity.
Just made this political podcast.
As Labour has said, is over. So, time to celebrate for some. But we have to start by really talking about the curse that I provided on yesterday's, the last episode that we recorded back in Phuket, when Nick and I were sat down for what was a very historic food for thought episode, as the commentator's curse really did hit us hard. Following our meal at the Chinese porridge, Thai porridge shop restaurant, Nick and I decided to venture forth into the old market of Phuket, sat down to have some lovely market food, where Nick experienced the spiciest soup he's ever had in his life.
But that was also because the temperature was so hot. So it would have been maybe like a vindaloo at an Indian restaurant, or a mild vindaloo, I'd say. But then add 30 degrees to that and 98% humidity. It's going to be a sweaty one indeed.
Thank you very much.
Cotton cart.
This is Thai espresso is latte.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Big
Well, it's got a nice
big
little,
bash, big dubs.
Cup holder on that.
350. I smell the blood of an espresso one.
Yeah. And so, really what I mean by commentator's curse is I informed Nick as we were recording that episode that we could always go and eat more food, and that was the beauty of Thailand, that you could eat and eat and eat and eat, because it's as cheap as having pretty much 3 meals to one in British and Australian culture.
50 baht, £1 for an iced espresso.
Beautiful stuff.
Amazing.
And unfortunately for us, it was our first case of food poisoning for a very long time in the old market in Phuket, and the following day it left us riddled with churning stomachs, pretty hefty diarrhea,
Bit of fever for me.
and hot and cold treatments. So folks, we've really been struggling over the last few days trying to recuperate from what was a very tough dose of Thai food poisoning.
I even finger gunned my own throat to get some puke out.
Yeah, the classic,
curious listener.
the classic tactic of sticking 2 fingers down your throat until you force yourself to throw up. Not medically advised by many doctors out there, but Nick seems to use it as a very effective tactic. And so Phuket was really, what I'd heard about it was the Magaluf of Thailand, but we didn't really get to see that side because we were bedbound, unfortunately, and that was where, following that, we had to say goodbye to our friends from Australia, 2 of which we didn't see on the last day because we were
Sick.
sick in bed. So they left, and that's really the end of a
Big shout out to Maybelline.
Yeah.
Hope you're enjoying Bali and Ubud
in Indonesia, and really it's a bit of an ending, because we met these guys first of all in Nicaragua, in Granada, went to a jungle rave there, became the best of friends as ravers do, met them again in Melbourne, and then finally in Thailand. I mean, it's like I think I mentioned this before, it's very rare that in normal walks of life you'd be able to make those kind of friendships and sustain them from the other side of the world.
Yeah, big shout out to Lauren and Jacques, who are now back in the freezing depths of Melbourne.
Yeah, unlucky folks. And so after we left Phuket, we then made the relatively, what should have been a short journey, to Khao Sok National Park. Recommended to us by Lauren and Jacques as a...
Forever going to pronounce Jacques' name with emphasis.
as being a very tranquil place where you spend the night on a floating house or floating cabin, shall we say, a few river safaris, and then a walk amongst in the caves. So we booked that quite last minute in the beautiful national park of Khao Sok.
He needs another cream cake.
That's not very nice, is it?
Wow, look at him. Clearly mummy and daddy haven't fed him enough.
That is very weightist of you. Poor guy was just trying to get his steps in. Probably only about 13.
You mean his waddles in?
You're getting ridiculed by a man observing him drinking his iced espresso. Pompous. And
I smell the blood of a chongus.
no, that's not very appropriate either. And so, Khao Sok National Park. Well, what can we say about it? We watched, on the first night, we watched England's horrific performance against Slovakia for 95 minutes. And then the one, the only,
Belly
goal, saved us.
Yeah, what a guy, eh?
We were in a bar, and it got to about 5-1, thinking, oh, our tournament's over. We've wasted 2 hours of our lives watching this pure, abysmal football. And then everything changed, and the spirits were lifted, and we knew after that the next one was coming, and it came pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, and we met a guy from Cornwall.
Yeah, our secondary school. We met someone in the year below from our secondary school at the same bar in Khao Sok National Park.
In the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere in Thailand. How crazy is that? Not planned, obviously. And yeah.
Big shout out to Alex Young.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. It's crazy, really, isn't it, when you think about it? How far away we are from Little Fleet, and yet there's globetrotters wherever you go. He was here for just a 3-week holiday before going back to dismal old England. But fair play for taking a step outside of most people's comfort zones and having a holiday away from home. So good for you, Alex. And so we then went back to our little hostel Coco for the night. Got about 5 hours sleep before having to get ready for our overnight venture into the national park, which I have to say was bloody good. Highly recommend it to everyone. It's from when you go in, it's about a 2-hour bus to then a boat ferry, and then it feels like you're in Pandora. From Avatar, you've got these kind of long green.
Well, it's a man-made
Yeah.
lake. They flooded basically loads of valleys in this like mountainous area, and basically you've just got the ends of the mountains that used to be rainforest sticking out of the lake. And I'm pretty sure that's where what's-his-face got the inspiration for the floating mountains of Pandora.
James Cameron.
James Cameron, that's it.
Yeah, and it is absolutely stunning. It's very well preserved. It doesn't feel like there's too many tourists there. I think, but maybe about in our kind of setup that we had
Couple 100, 200,
in total.
100. Well, the thing is, it doesn't feel like there's many people because it's so inaccessible.
Yeah.
You can only have people in certain locations on the lake, and they're all dotted around the national park. So, well, on our floating kind of little village, there were maybe, I reckon
100, yeah.
100, 150.
Yeah, and Nick and I had our own cabin to ourselves, and we went out kayaking for a good half an hour before I got tired. Wanted to turn back, but yeah, it was just very tranquil, very relaxing. Even though we had 3 big Irish lads who were making a lot of noise throughout our kind of free time, it was a very enjoyable experience. And following that, in the morning after, we then went into one of the main caves, which was absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you recall the news story of that Thai football team. A lot of the boys got stuck in a cave.
Wasn't there though?
It wasn't that cave, but it did kind of feel like it was something similar to that. If you haven't watched the film 13 Lives with Viggo Mortensen in it, you know, that's a biopic of what happened in that film. I highly recommend
You might
it.
recall Elon Musk calling the British diver who found them a nonce because he beat his robot.
Yeah. Just,
Salty.
so yeah, a very enjoyable cave tour where We saw a frog.
Oh, what, you saw your reflection?
That's not very nice, is it? He's on one today. You're in more of an aggressive, insulting mood rather than cynical for once, which is nice. So overnight in Khao Sok National Park, we met some Kiwis and a few French Canadians who I have to say are much nicer than regular Frenchies, travellers-wise, that is. I think they've got that kind of Canadian excited communication with the softness of the French language kind of oozing through into their personalities.
You would never guess what. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. Is that what you're thinking or not? What were you thinking?
I don't know.
Well,
that.
I have a very intellectual means of thinking about people and their different personalities and how their origins can really represent what kind of person they are. But I did find them to be very nice people, which is good. And it was a very enjoyable time. So yeah, like we said, Khao Sok National Park comes to a cost of around 50 quid for an overnight stay with kind of 2 river cruises to look at a bit of wildlife. Not to say that it's really filled with too much excitement from animals. A few bulls,
Macaques and bulls.
lots of bloody monkeys. You stop for every monkey, and it's like, if you haven't seen a monkey by this time in Asia, then you're really doing something
Met
wrong.
enough monkeys while I've been travelling, and tell you that.
Yeah, because they're everywhere. Lots of cheeky monkeys.
A lot of big ones as well.
Anyway, after Khao Sok, we then had to we were then returned to kind of just outside the national park. Had a bit of a recuperation because I have to say the sleep was not easy in one of those floating bungalows, as it was very hot and very humid, very rainforest-like. And then we had to make our way to Chiang Mai. First of all, an overnight train to Bangkok, which I thought was very smooth, very
I actually slept on it.
yeah,
So
much better
Yeah.
than the ones in India.
Oh, yeah,
I have
yeah,
to
yeah,
say,
lovely.
a lot less crowded, a lot quieter. Even though they left the lights on the whole time, it felt like it was still good enough for sleeping conditions. Second AC, I wouldn't go in third class. It was recommended to us, don't do that. Second AC is the only kind of sleeping quarters on the train, so I'd highly recommend that if you do want to take a long distance train. That came to in about 11 hours, and then we were stuck with the conundrum of not booking our second train from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, as we thought it would be more regular, but it turns out it's very popular in Thailand, and so we then opted to take the bus option.
from Mo Chit, more shit.
Mo Chit bus station in Bangkok. A little stop there. My stomach was really trying to fight against me again. I didn't really eat much, which was probably a bad
Stayed in the
Bad
same
decision on
coffee
my
place
part.
for about 3 hours trying to recover.
Really struggling.
Whilst I went to the local market to try and buy some fruit, boss man says 90 baht for 1 mango. And then he says, but there's a more expensive one if you want it for 150 baht.
He clearly
Which is
thought
about
you-
£2 for a mango. I mean, in Khao Sok I got a mango for 30p.
Yeah. He clearly
Sorry.
thought you were a man of wealth.
Wealth, yeah. I guess I give off that vibe.
It's the first time for everything, folks. So yeah, the big journey to Chiang Mai, not the most enjoyable, not the worst that we've done over our travelling experiences. Only at 12 hours, a little bit of reclination in the chair, which came in pretty handy, and that leads us to where we are now, much further in the north of the country. It's no less cooler, still around the low 30s, but a bit less humid. And well, tomorrow we're being up for England's quarter-final match against Switzerland, which is
We are sure to lose that,
Yeah.
surely, come on.
I'm
Come
optimistic. Just the turning point from the Bellingham
If we
bicycle
can
kick.
see first, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
So, in the next episode, we'll tell you a bit more about Chiang Mai and whether or not England succeeded, and hopefully that would make our trip to this, from what we've seen so far, it's been a beautiful little
Very nice,
city.
very nice indeed.
So we'll be discovering more of that in the next episode. Thank you very much for listening, as always, and goodbye.